What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for being here tonight. I feel like there's it's like a little magic in the air or something. The chat, but even before showtime, was really active tonight. So I appreciate it. Welcome to Proper Royals Live. It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and I'm proud to say that I generally start right on time unless there's a problem. I heard a quote this week that somebody said the best advice they got was to show up on time, to be prepared, and not to waste other people's time. I think that's pretty basic, good stuff that's simple and easy to follow, yet effective. So thank you all for being here, not 19 of you out of the gate. So I'm either doing something right, or Herbert from HB Reptiles tonight is bringing the folks. Whatever it is, I'm thankful. I appreciate it either way. Yeah, we got Herbert Boni on tonight from Moravia, New York, and he's been breeding, I think, 6-7 seasons, something like that. You probably saw. I tell you what, maybe is bringing some people is just the thumbnail. This guy Herbert has hit a triple visual, and we don't usually show snakes on the show, but I might make a point of seeing if we could see that thing tonight. Pretty cool. I don't know that I've ever actually seen a triple in person. Maybe I have. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll talk to Herbert tonight about, really stacking recessives. The triple was kind of the clickbait, but we'll dive into stacking the recessives and then kind of focusing on a premium tier. It's something I've talked about a lot on this channel of where my focus should be, or is it a ongoing curve that I kind of work my way there? Is it something I should be buying my way straight towards? And everybody's got a different opinion and different resources and different experience as well. So we'll talk to Herbert about that. And then I got to talk to him. He says, in his logo says, I don't want to misstate it, but I think it says nobody cares, do the work. So I kind of like, you guys know, I kind of have that mentality a little bit about myself as well. So I think we're going to have a good old time tonight. Stick around for sure. Some announcements before I bring Herbert on. And actually, I got to say thanks to some people in the chat as well. I'm not great at these shout outs, but you know what? As I get to know people more and more and interact with people more and more, I got to give a little bit of love and that kind of thing. Casey, thank you, Patreon member. I'll see you in Tampa this weekend. Dale, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you looking out for me. You know what I'm talking about, but thank you very, very much, man. It means a lot. Appreciate it. Pressure pythons, guys, do me a favor. If you would help out Justin, let's get his page and brand up off of the ground. He's speaking of a guy doing the hard work. He's a guy here in Jacksonville that I've done some work with. A heck of a good guy. Just got his brand going on pressure pythons. So if you happen to see him on Instagram, or I guess he's here on YouTube as well, but anywhere you see him, help him out on pressure pythons. It'd mean a lot. I think he's going to be down in Tampa this weekend as well, hanging out. Blue chip constrictors. I don't know if I've seen you in here before. If I have, thank you. And thanks for coming back. If I haven't, welcome. Jeremy, Holly, happy birthday, Jeremy. I know it's a day late, but not a buck short, I promise. Come on out. Jeremy and Holly will be in Tampa this weekend as well. Brandy McGee, thanks for coming by, supporting your buddy. I guess that's Herbert, but I haven't seen you before. I hope you consider coming back in the future, or stick around for tonight. Maybe enjoy it. I hope you do. Eric, what's going on, man? I don't know. Hopefully I get to see you this weekend as well. Mike at May Reptiles, thanks for coming by. Yeah, Dale's going to be down in Tampa this weekend. One of my announcements, I think I've announced it before, but I'll be vending at the Tampa Repticon, and I'm biased, as most of us Florida breeders probably are, but really, in my experience, outside of Daytona, and I'm sure, Tinley and Arlington and that kind of thing, but Tampa's a really massive show. Tampa's a fantastic show. I'm excited to vend it, but I'm excited to see how I do when some guys like Dale and George MD. Jeremy Baud's going to be there. Steve Casino will be there. I don't know if Kittinger's vending this one or not, but some of the big players come out, and all of those guys have really done me solid in the past. So it's kind of cool to now be vending the same show with them. But I also want to see how my chops are. Like, at the end of the day, I want to make some sales. I appreciate what those guys have done for me, but it's a lot of work, and I'm excited to see that. So this will be cool. I've vended Orlando several times with a similar crowd, but I'm looking forward to it. And the other thing is I just get a chance to hang out. Like, we get to catch up. We'll see each other setting up on Friday. Sometimes we go out on Saturday nights together after the first show. The US Arc Florida auction is at the Tampa show as well. You don't have to be a vendor to go to that. If you're going to that, and if you're going to the show and not vending, stick around, please. First off, it's cool. Second, there's steals of deals there. And third, and most importantly, is you're supporting US Arc Florida. They have a bar, so we kind of kick back and get a little bit loose. It's not quite as loose as the Daytona show, but it is pretty loose. So stick around for that. All of that is why I get excited for shows, and hopefully make a little bit of dough to keep this operation going. I got my first clutch of the years. It might be pipping right now. I checked before the show. It hadn't pipped yet, but Friday would be day 55. So day 52 today. Yeah. That is the Blackhead het genetic stripe to a Blackhead het genetic stripe. It's a 1 in 16 chance I hit the super recessive that I don't know if it's been done before. I have not found it. I have not seen one. I have 6 good eggs. I have 1 bad egg, but man, I incubated that bad egg. We're going to cut that thing too. Good to see, man. Maybe the little fighter's in there. You know what I mean? So that's coming up. Stay tuned on Instagram or wherever on the socials for that. If it gets to Friday morning and they haven't come out on their own, I'll cut them open on Friday. We'll see what's up. Obviously, I'll be in Tampa this weekend. I'm excited to hang out. Lots of good friends. Also, let me see. I'm relatively sure that Jesse Music from Musical Pythons is vending that show as well. I'm guessing Miguel from Perfectly Engineered Reptiles will be there. I don't know if he's vending. Hopefully he is, but should get to see them. So kind of a lot of the crew that's really been good to me and helpful to me over the years is going to be there. Go check them out. Got a video that's been getting really positive response, both from metrics of people watching it, but also a heck of a lot of feedback and discussion. It's about the effect of kind of the boom during the pandemic and the lasting legacy of those breeders that got started at that time. Let me know what you think. Go check it out. I thought it was a good video, but it's performing really well too. So maybe it's a pretty good one. And I'm trying to get back to producing traditional YouTube content once a week. It's a little bit of a hard grind for me right now, just with all the work that I do have going on, but the results are really good when I do that. But as far as like the YouTube part of the machine and keeping that going, and I hate talking about the algorithm, but kind of feeding the algorithm. So I had been stepping back from that some. That's just kind of what got sacrificed in my work picking up, my other job stuff picking up. But it's time to get back to it. And the plus side of that is that I kind of feel creatively recharged. There's a whole lot of topics that I want to get to. So I got a pretty good well of content in my mind to give a shot to. So next week we got Charlie from Gray Rider Reptiles, Gray Rider Snakes, Gray Rider, that's doing the genetic testing and disrupting that marketplace a little bit. What a good dude that guy is. I saw him on Warfels, and we've talked some behind the scenes. Looking forward to hanging out with Charlie from Gray Rider next week. Then I take my butt on vacation. That I haven't been on a summer vacation since my son's been alive. I cannot tell you how excited I am. We're getting out of Dodge. I'm getting a house sitter. I'm getting pet snake sitters. I'm out of here, man. So I called in my good buddy, Steven from Leviathan Snakes. He's going to guest host. Oh, he stopped by this week. How about that, huh? He was down from South Carolina on some work, and we fit in a little Sunday afternoon, tacos, cervezas, and snakes. We didn't film anything. It was just hanging out with no content, just good friends hanging out. I'm really thankful that Steven has become the friend that he has and the support of the time. So it's real cool to hang out with Steven. He is going to host Kevin from Brad Boa Reptiles, Brad Boa Pythons on the show that night. That'll be on June 20th. On June 27th, Charlie from Reagan Renee Royal Pythons is coming through for me in the guest host slot. And he is going to host his buddy Danner Constrictors, another Jersey breeder. Those guys go, I don't know, way back. They go back. I don't know how far back. But to Charlie and Steven's credit, they wanted to book the show themselves. They're handling the show. I'm going to handle some of the technical stuff behind the scenes, just getting StreamYard set up for them. And then I'm going to get back to hanging out in Boston and Maine. So they'll handle that. The 4th of July is the Tuesday after. I'm going to take that evening off for obvious reasons. Maybe I'll do a pre-recorded video that people can watch. And again, I'll just keep the algorithm happy. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll just do a little live solo thing for half an hour or something. Like I'll record it live and then post it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Enjoy your 4th of July. And then after that, we'll get back to the usual stuff. And hopefully I'll have a whole bunch of cool new guests lined up. Maybe some old friends come back. That's another thing the shows are good for, is just networking and meeting people. So I'm looking forward to it. Lots of fun right now. Exciting time. Ovulations are happening, blah, 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 all that good stuff. 38 of you. Nice. Thank you. I haven't read the comments. I'll try and catch up on them once we bring on Herbert. So I came across Herbert's name, I think, when I'm going to have to check on them, but I think it was when I had Robbie on from RGen Reptiles, and what a good dude Robbie is. And I really kind of believe the whole birds of a feather, find your tribe sort of mentality. So, you know, if Robbie's a good dude and he likes hanging out with Herbert, and then and then his buddy Herbert has a triple visual, guess what? You get an invite on the show. And we've had some good chat behind the scenes. I think we're gonna have a great time tonight. So for the very, very first time ever, please welcome to the Proper Royals stage from Moravia, New York, Herbert Bonilla from HB Reptiles. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I am very good. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being patient. I was just rambling on. I got a little excited, you know?
Hey, it's all good.
Like, if I have a podcast about ball pythons, I should in theory get excited when we're gonna get to talk about them, you know? So I guess that part I'm doing right.
For sure. I got excited when you were talking about the chance of hitting a super blackhead G-stripe. I like that.
Oof. Yeah, I know. I don't know. Like I say, I know all the math. I know all the stuff that goes in it, but that's the fun of that's the fun of it. And I know what the odds are if I don't try. So may as well get in the game and give it a shot, you know? So
for sure.
Either way, I like Blackhead. I like G-stripe. So I think I'll get some usable things out of it. And was it today that the email went out that there's a G-stripe test now?
Yes, they released that a few days ago, and then they just released Black Pastel and NG.
Okay.
So they're really moving over there.
Yeah, they are moving. And that was from Morph Market, RGI, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's really good timing, because what I don't like is when I can help it doing head to head. I personally try and avoid the 66% or the, potential normal.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to do it. And now there's an out that we just even a year ago, we really didn't have.
Yep. It's very true.
So, yeah. So we can jump in on that while let's go back to the beginning. Give us the introduction. Like I said, we haven't met very much other than some chat. And in case people in the audience don't know you, tell us about yourself.
So I started in 2017. I didn't own a ball python before 2017. and I just went on Craigslist and bought a female adult ball python and had it in a 40-gallon enclosure, with just one of those red heat lamps on the top and an upside down Tupperware container with a hole cut out for a hide. No idea what I was doing.
Yeah, still use maybe not the red lamp, but still usable. The upside down Tupperware container. No shame in that. That's right.
I still use those as hides, even in these small little enclosures here. I use small Tupperware containers for hides sometimes. It works.
I use the plastic planter saucers at Home Depot for about $1, and you just got the little dome. I found actually, and it's funny on Instagram, like experts will chime in and be like, you need a bigger hide for that animal. And I'm like, it's like having a little sheet. It just likes like wearing it around like it's a hat, man. It's just like something in there with it,
It's very true. It doesn't have to make sense for us. It has to make sense for them.
That's right. Yeah. And then I will say, I hope I'm usually pretty positive about the input people give me, but every now and again, there's times where I'm like, just stop trying so hard, man. Just enjoy scrolling. Just hit the like and go on, So 2017, you buy this ball. Was it a pet? Did you want to breed it? What would you just had a wild hair, buy a snake?
Pretty much. At that time, I had a corn snake. And I just really wanted something a little bit bigger and a little bit girthier.
Okay.
So I'm like, ball python's perfect. I knew about them for years. I grew up loving reptiles and everything and always wanted one growing up and just never got one. So I'm like, okay, I want a ball python. So I got that. As soon as I got that, I wanted to learn how to take care of a ball python properly. That brought me to YouTube. That brought me to Brian Barczyk.
There you go. Yeah. Who
and then the obsession started.
Who else at that time? Like by the time I came around, it was Hardwick, it was Kabilka, Miguel. Those were kind of like the YouTube cartel. Maybe a little bit of Snake Discovery, but I never really watched them. There was also I say the kid. He was a kid at the time. He's a plenty adult now, but the Let's Go Herping guy. But was there any of those? Were there any of those at the time when you were starting to learn that kind of hooked you in, other than Barczyk, or was he kind of the guy doing it?
He was the main one, but there was also Olympus Reptiles. Oh yeah, and Chris Hardwick. Yep, those were the three big ones on YouTube back then.
And I knew. Okay, and they were already at it in 2017, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize Olympus had been at it that long. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
He's been doing it for like 10 or 11 years now.
On YouTube?
I don't know about YouTube.
That's mostly what I meant. Yeah, I knew they'd been at it like breeding, but not on the media part of it. It interests me, the people that were doing it before YouTube got such a boom during the pandemic. What else was there to do other than veg out on YouTube, right? And then guys like me came along, but I could do better, like learning about the people before me, but I'll get there all in due time. So you bred that first year though?
I did. So that first year, that was in August of 2017 is when I got this snake. 2 months later, I believe, is when I went to my first reptile show. And I walked out with 10 ball pythons.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
So, yeah, we went full bore right in. Didn't know what we were doing. We were buying whatever was cheapest and biggest because we wanted to start breeding immediately. So, without understanding.
Who was we?
Me and my wife.
Okay.
Yeah. She's my partner in crime.
Yeah. What's her name? You got to give her a proper introduction here.
Desiree.
Okay, cool. All right. So then you bred. So this is August, and you got a clutch in that same year?
Well, the following year. We started breeding that season.
Okay.
We ended up getting enough adults that I ended up breeding 8 females, and then we got 4 clutches our first year.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's
so
pretty cool.
Nothing crazy, but best time to learn is in your first year.
Yeah, but
when
you go from 0 to 4 clutches and taking care of those babies, there's a steep learning curve right there. How did that go for you that year?
It was good. We lost a lot of babies during the incubation process, so we didn't really hatch out that many. I think out of the 4 clutches, we probably hatched out maybe 18 animals or so.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bad.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my first year, I think I hatched like 16 or 17. And I remember just some days being like, how am I going to keep up with it? Like, I got to go to work. I got these babies. They eat, they poo, they're expensive. Like, I was just like, oh man, I got to go buy, like, buying 17 ASFs when you're not making any money on these things every week. You start going, how in the world am I going to do this?
Yep. It adds up quick.
Yeah. Yeah, Dale was saying, yeah, that's right. Nerd's been producing the videos for a long time at that time frame as well. So what'd you get that year? Anything that like changed your outlook, or was it just kind of like setting the hook that you wanted to do more? Like, was there anything that you were just like, oh man, wow, like I actually got this, or in retrospect was really formative for you to get that year?
No, not really.
No, okay.
No, we bought a couple recessives. We got a couple exanthics that year, a 1.1 exanthic, and then a super pastel genetic stripe. That was it for visual recessives in our first season. And then everything else was just single gene animals, cinnamon, spider, pastel. We got 1 OD, nothing crazy, just basic codoms, and, just didn't know any better.
Yeah. I'm dying at the chat over here. Everybody's like, they're just totally dumping on the black pastel and Enchi tests. They're like, what in the world do you need that for? They're all joking. The pastel test will be announced tomorrow, everybody.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone has those thoughts. I want puzzle. I don't want black pastel.
Yeah. And actually, I got to save it, but I am going to ask Charlie from Gray Rider Reptiles is in the audience too. He's on the show next week. But like, I think I would feel like, and we'll talk about that with his show, but I would feel like testing for one gene, it's like raising the expensive ball python or the cheap ball python. Like, it's the same process. It doesn't actually cost you anymore. Why in the world would you put your efforts towards testing for Enchi when you could put your efforts towards testing for puzzle? I guess. Anyhow, that sneak preview for next week. Back to the regularly scheduled programming here. So when did you make the switch to like, okay, these codoms are cool, and playing God, creating ball python eggs and figuring out the incubator is cool. When did you go to like, wait a minute, I see the future in it, and it's double recessives, and I need to start working at that? Because that takes a long time to get to what you're producing right now. When did that happen? Tell us about that progression.
Yeah. So I think it was in 2019. Miguel was on the Reptiles Unplugged podcast, and he was talking about recessives and how to properly scale your business and how to grow on the financial sense. Buying smart, don't just buy whatever animals, and buying good animals that are at least het for some recessive or visuals, because that's where the future is going. And so that was the initial moment where I was like, okay, I need to get rid of a lot of the animals that I currently have and just put all of that money into a few animals that are higher quality.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the big moment, the first big moment. The second one was when Billy was on Jason from Morph Mixology when he had his podcast.
Yeah.
He went on there, and you know how Billy does his rants, and he did a good rant on investing and putting your all into the business. And if you're trying to make this a business, then there has to be risk. Like, if you want to make this work in 20 years, then, you know, go at your own pace. Don't do anything scary. Don't put a lot of effort in. But if you're trying to make a business grow, then you're going to have to do some risk. And that's what it took for me. And at that point, I totally revamped my collection. Me and my wife, we took a loan against her 401k, and we invested heavily into the business and bought some really powerful animals at that time.
Okay, so that was 4 years ago you did that.
The interview with Miguel was in 2019. The one with Billy, that was in 2020, I believe.
So since you brought it up, I wouldn't normally put people on this spot. Given the 2 to 3 years later, because I wouldn't recommend to anybody to go cashing out your 401k and a loan is better than cashing it out, in my opinion. But you're the guy that did it, and you're living the results. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Where have the results been for you on that? Would you do it again?
Well, let's put it this way: I breed ball pythons for a living.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you.
Worked.
Okay, good for you. And that's the perfect example. I think I mentioned in the intro, we all have different resources. We all have different risk levels and what we're risk tolerances and what we're willing to take. There's people that I've again, I won't say any names, but and they're actually in the audience as well. But they're talking about doing similar things, and I'm like, more power to you. I just can't be the one that encourages you to do that because it goes against my personal beliefs. But here you are as the guy who did it, and you're one of the few people that I've ever had on the show, because I usually ask, where on the spectrum of hobby and business are you? Well, you might have some hobby endeavors in that business, but you're at the business end of that spectrum. Good for you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
When did KMB says that's Matt. He says air horns. Yeah, pew pew pew.
Matt's a good dude. Watch Matt. Matt's gonna have this under control very quickly. You need to have him on.
He's been on. Yeah, I know. I don't know him real well, but I know him so well. Put it that way. I know him an hour more than I know you right now. So when did that? Was there a finite moment of when you can say you quit another job and you made this your full-time thing, or what? I'm guessing there was a lot of overlap. I'm guessing you said, all right, we're going to make this a business. We'll tick down one thing while the other ramps up. My arms are doing weird stuff, but you get the question. How did that transition go?
So the job that I had was just a factory job. I worked in a warehouse. Was not a very exciting job. Didn't like the job. And when we invested the money, the animals that I bought, I knew what they would do in that next season.
Yeah.
So with the money that we had saved up, and then the expectations of what was to come, that was kind of what made that decision. Was if I left my job at the end of the year, I knew in 6 months the quality animals that I would be hatching out.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sorry, when was that? What year was that?
That I left my job?
Yeah.
That was December 15th of 21.
Okay, so the pandemic had mostly gone through. We were starting to see daylight of that. So it was, yes. Did you catch, so you were saying 6 months after that, really what I'm trying to build up to is how much of that pandemic boom made the difference, or has most of it come in the more challenging times afterwards? I guess the time frame would be in sort of more of the panic times, which I have my own opinions of. There's not really a need for panic, but
I agree.
Okay. just me. I'm just one dude. But so most of it was, so you started seeing the results the summer of 2022, a year ago.
Yes.
Good for you. Good for you, man. I don't know how much you watched the show. On January 1st, I went to full self-employment. It's the first time in my 27-year work history that I've been fully self-employed. So it's not fully based on snakes, but it's a big part of it. And here I am 6 months later. I didn't know if I'd make it 30 days. So I'm pretty excited about it, and there's a big tailwinds, full head of steam. I'm actually backing off from one of my clients. Thursday is my last day with one of the clients where I've said I don't know if I'll be back. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. So I love hearing that, man. Good for you for a year and a half later, dude. Still being at it with a smile on your face, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Congrats to you too.
I'm getting there, you know, and something that really spoke to me was you talking about doing the work. We'll get to that whole thing on the logo later, but I can't, and I was talking about this with Dale earlier too. I can't stress enough. People might just see the YouTube, or they might just see the pretty, show banner or neat Instagram photos, but it's a lot. It's just a lot of work. It's a lot of figuring stuff out. That I'm not joking. That moment when I was having to buy 17 or 18 hoppers or ASF fuzzies a week, I was like, what am I doing, man? This is crazy. There's no way to get through this. And then you sell a snake for $500 and you're like, oh, wait a minute, man. Maybe I can. Maybe this will buy some hoppers. You know what I mean? And and it goes. So like, but the work is, like I said, I can't overemphasize it enough. I'm with you on it, man. So tell us about the last year and a half. What's that been like? What do you have going on? And how do we get where we're at today?
So the last year and a half has been great.
Cool.
It's nice not waking up to an alarm clock anymore. That's for sure. Now the only boss I answer to is my wife.
Now, do you have a rhythm? Like, you must have like a daily rhythm and a daily routine. And I mean, we didn't talk about your scale, but just from what I see in the room with you, you don't manage that to a high degree of quality without some rhythm and without some routine, right?
Yes. Yep. Each day I have different tasks, so then I stay on point. Wednesday nights we feed, and then my mother-in-law comes over. Big shout out to my mother-in-law. She is definitely a big rock in my life.
Cool.
And she comes over, and her and my wife clean all of the rats, and then I feed the snakes. So it's great. We have a nice little team here.
That's cool. My mother-in-law, I love her dearly. She's never looked at one of my snakes, much less we don't even like speak it. Like, we're not allowed to split. She'll just be like, is everything okay out there? Like, out there means in the snake room. That's code for don't say snake, and I don't want to know about them.
Just want to know it's doing good.
Right. Yeah. And that's only as a fine courtesy. She would not be heartbroken if I were like, it's all gone to hell, I'm out. They'd be like, yes, hallelujah, congratulations.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, my mother-in-law warmed up to it. She was a little timid of the snakes at first, and now, she'll come into the room and I can open the bins, and she'll look in and watch, and she's come a long way.
That's cool. That's cool. And your wife Desiree, how that's pretty engaged to be cleaning the rats. Is she hands-on or as full-time as you, or where does she fit in on it?
So my wife is a vet tech, so she does that for her full-time job.
Great.
Yep.
Great.
She's been there for 17 or 18 years.
Oh yeah.
She's been there in the company.
Very cool. All right. Yeah, it's good to have that supportive partner though, because like my wife Kelly, she doesn't do much of the cleaning and whatnot. But if I'm out of town, like, people are always like, well, will she deal with the snakes? I'm like, she pulls eggs when I'm out of town. Like, if you pull a mama off the eggs, like, you're in it, right? Like, that's you're doing it. So she pulls eggs if I'm out of town, and she ultrasounds with me, and she knows, she keeps closer track on the business that she lets on. There'll be times where she's like, what's that girl doing? She going or not? She needs to produce. I'm like, I'm working on it.
We can only do so much.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what people don't understand. I was talking with somebody this week. I was like, look, dude, you could do all 42 things you're talking about doing, or Mother Nature's going to do what she wants to do, man. You're going to, keep them healthy, put them together, see what happens. I mean, you can do more, but at the base of it, that's kind of it,
Yeah. You put the male in, you make sure the heat's good, make sure she has food, and what happens, happens.
Yeah. It's always a point of not content or contention or debate, but just curiosity. Where do you fall on the ultrasound question? Does that fit into your operation at all? And to what degree? What's your take on that?
Yeah, we've been ultrasounding for 3 years now, and I couldn't imagine doing what I do without an ultrasound machine. It's just, especially for me, the anxiety that I get is the things that are unknown. So it drives me nuts to not know which females are potentially going to give me eggs. So the ultrasound totally relieves that anxiety for me because I see their follicles. I know exactly where they're at. I know if they're building. I know if they're not. So it puts my mind at ease.
Yeah. By and large, I agree with you. I'm not good at the ultrasound. There was this, excuse me, it's a funny story. This week, I came running to my wife. I'm like, babe, there's 6 of them that out of nowhere are about to go. I don't know if I was just missing it before or what. And there was some arc on the ultrasound machine. And then I ultrasounded her arm and that arc was still there. I was like, oh, that's probably not the top of an egg. I've been doing something wrong here, Thankfully, what I've committed to myself this year, this is my first year using the ultrasound, is that I wasn't going to change my actions. I was going to let the results dictate when I changed my actions rather than the ultrasound. So when I see a clear ovulation, or it's usually pretty easy to see once they're really building towards an ovulation. But before that, I didn't feel I was reliable enough to spot follicles and to measure them properly on a consistent basis. So I still have stuck with the regular pairing, and the males I only pair with I think my most used one has only gone to 3 females. So I haven't it's not like I've been target practicing with the ultrasound and males to get to 9 females or anything, but I want to see the results and what I learned from my experience this year and try and follow those notes so that I can get better at it. And one day it'd be great to have a male that was worth sort of the target shooting with, but
right.
So anyhow, I'm learning, and I've learned that trying to ultrasound your own arm is a good comparison to see if indeed what you think is there or not.
Oh man.
If nothing else, I try and be transparent. So what was your first double visual that you produced? I think you said in that first year you produced a super recessive, but what was your first true double visual that you produced?
My first double visual was last year, and trying to remember which one the first was. The first double visuals I hatched last year, and I hatched, I think, 4 of them. Might have been the Ultramel Pied.
Okay.
I think that might have been the first one that I hit last year. But I hit 4 or 5 of them last year, and that was my first time hitting them.
Cool. And then when you say 4 of them, 4 animals or 4 different combinations of double visuals?
Both.
Oh, okay. There you go.
4 different animals and 4 different combinations.
Oh, okay. I got 1 of each. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And what were the others then?
I hit the Sunset Albino last year. I hit a Ultra Glow. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that nickname. Ultra Glow, what's that one? Ultramel and Hypo.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then I hit an Ultramel Clown. Well, I guess I hit 5 then. And then I hit another Ultramel Pied Het Clown, and then I hit the Ultramel Clown Pied.
Yeah.
Last year was a good year. It was a very good.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all noticed in the chat, he just snuck in a triple there, not a double. He's like, oh, but by the way, just boom, there.
It is a double, just +1.
Right? Yeah, it's a really special double. It's it's just a codon. That's just entry you see there. You could do a genetic test for it, but So back up. I didn't realize that you had done the albino sunset. How many people had done that before you? Was that
0?
0. You were the guy. You were the one on that one, huh?
Yep.
Congratulations. So that Sunset must have been one of those that you bought when you took the loan, huh?
It was not.
No.
I actually bought the double hets back in 2019. I got a stupid, crazy deal. I won't even talk numbers because I'll probably get assassinated.
Right.
I paid next to nothing for double het sunset albinos, a male double het sunset desert ghost, and a female coral glow het clown 50% het sunset that ended up proving to be het sunset. And literally, I paid next to nothing for them.
In those days, I say those days like we're talking about the 1920s, but in those days, the recessive boom kind of hadn't started, or had it, but the pandemic hadn't. The pandemic hadn't come yet, and nobody knew that boom was coming.
No, and back then, I mean, visual sunsets were still going for $20,000 to $30,000.
Okay, well,
so
that's what I was going to ask. Was that flying under the radar, or you just found the right seller at the right time that was like, hey, if it ain't visual, screw it, get it out of here?
Pretty much.
Wow.
The seller that I got it from was getting out of the industry.
Yeah.
So they were just trying to offload them. So, like, I half expected that I would end up just with a bunch of cinnies that were het albino and, you know, normals that were het albino, or they were just nothings, you know, and no, they're all legit.
Yeah. I mean, it's a roll of the dice, but I've had several, especially lately, several bulk, if not collection purchases that were that way. And they were serious people when they went after it, and whatever changed in life or whatever they, there's kind of this narrative that like the people getting out like failed. That's not necessarily the case. I bought 27 snakes from a dude that got a promotion and had to buy a house, and it was either take the life-changing promotion immediately or miss out on it. So he didn't fail. He just had to make a choice that was great for his family and move on. And his collection has been like what you're describing, not sunset hets and that sort of thing, but he was working towards a lot of good stuff. Those Blackhead het genetic stripes that I paired came from that collection I bought 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool thing, and it is a risk, and it is taking a chance, and it is putting yourself out there. But if there's any way to vet that seller or that person getting out, and you find that it's not just somebody that's neglected animals and doesn't want to do it anymore, holy cow! Because you're always getting a deal. Maybe you're not getting pennies on the dollar, but when you buy 25 or 30 snakes, you're gonna get the benefit of the volume dealing,
Right. It's very true.
Sorry, let me turn off my my alarm here so it doesn't annoy us.
Your ring?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny at work. Everybody's like, "Oh, somebody in your snake room?" I'm like, nope, that's the front door. But I would know if they were in there.
Can't be too careful.
No, and I don't know how much you've seen on the show, but I moved from the sticks of North Carolina, where I could literally go days without seeing another human if I didn't want to just full on suburbia overload and cookie cutter, suburban North Florida. So I'm still kind of getting used to it. And I'm always just like, what do these people want with me? Why are they here? Who's here? I'm kind of like the weird, like hermit, like looking around, But yes, I do. I have, well, and you might not know either. I live stream my 24/7 live stream my facility. I have a YouTube channel that's just nothing but the live stream of the facility. So like between Ring and that, like if somebody wants to do something stupid in here, like you better do it good, because I'm going to know who you are. But otherwise, Anyway, yeah, that's the Ring alarm though. So it's done. So tell us the story of the triple, because I'm not going to ruin the punchline, but I was doing the show prep and I was like, wait, what? You have a triple? And you're like, and I won't say the punchline. So tell us the story of this thing.
All right. So back in 2020, I believe it was, I bought technically it was a 2.1. I bought a leopard double het ultramel clown, male. And then I bought a male pastel ultramel het clown, male. And then I bought a female pastel double het ultramel clown.
So you had a visual, you had a double visual, no, a double het, a visual het, and another double het.
Correct.
Okay,
yep.
So kind of playing long odds anyway.
Yes. So to go back, the previous year, I had bought a normal double het ultramel clown. And all of these came from Marshall Mendez.
Okay.
Because if you're going to get into ultramel clown, you make sure you get it from a good source.
Yeah.
So this past year, I got a clutch from both the normal female and from the pastel female. I cut the eggs from the normal female, and I got, whatever I got, I don't remember. And then I hatched out a baby, and I'm like, what is this? Like, it's got red eyes, and it almost looks like a super pastel ultramel, but the color isn't quite right. Like, I don't know what this is. So I messaged Marshall, and he messages me back, and he's like, you just hatched out a Camarilla. And I'm like, what's that?
Yeah. Catch me up. What's that? Okay.
That is a caramel ultramel.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that a lot of the ultramels have caramel floating around in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay. So like, what are the chances that both the dad and the female that aren't even related to each other are both het caramel? Yeah. Like, that's crazy. I'm like, okay, so now the dad, he's a visual ultramel double het caramel clown, and the mom is now a triple het ultramel caramel clown. I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is. So then the clutch from the pastel female is ready to cut. And I cut that clutch. And this was, man, a couple days before I went to Tinley last October.
Mm-hmm.
And I cut that clutch, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, what is this? And the animal that I saw in the egg, it had some white in there, and then lots of yellow and weird pattern. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Like, it almost looks like a pied, but the pattern seems really faded in the egg at least. So I'm like, maybe it's some kind of an ivory. Maybe both parents happen to be yellow belly. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I go to Tinley, and I come back, and one of the first things I do when I get back from Tinley is I go and I pull these eggs out, because I assume that they're going to be out of the egg at this point.
And you don't tell anybody at Tinley, hey, I got a triple sitting at home. Like, of all the shows that you could, like, walk in, like Conor McGregor, man, you missed it.
Well, I didn't know. I had no idea what I was looking at yet, because I hadn't seen it out of the egg.
Right.
But so then I go to the tub, and it's out of the egg, and I'm holding it in my hand, and my wife comes down, and I'm like, hun, look at this. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's ultramel, and that really looks like pied.
Right.
And that head and the pattern, that's clown. I'm like, this is an ultramel clown pied. And so I'm like, so now my male is also het pied. So he's a visual ultramel triple het caramel clown pied, and the female is now a pastel triple het ultramel clown pied. And I didn't know pied was in the pairing.
On either side,
on either
right?
one. Had no idea.
Isn't it crazy there's a few things in my life that have been like this. Like, you know what your eyes are seeing, but your brain doesn't process it. Like, how many times in life have you been like, that kind of looks like pied? No, it's either pied or it's not, right? Like, there's not a, well, maybe that could be. What would that be? No, it doesn't match, right? You're like,
yeah.
But because it doesn't match, you're like, wait, there's got to be some other explanation here, huh?
Yeah. That's why when so many people want you to ID something for them and they don't tell you what the pairing is, That's the first thing you ask. Okay, what was the pairing? What genes am I looking for?
Yeah, I got to find
Because
some
there's
knowledge here.
500 genes out there. It's like, it could be any gene, but tell me what genes could be in it, and then I can help you actually identify it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ended up reaching out to Marshall, and I'm like, hey man, any chance that Pied was in this pairing? Because I'm pretty sure this is an ultramale clown Pied. And he replied and said that he had a female, I believe it was a female, that was het Pied that he used for several seasons and just kind of ignored the het Pied because it wasn't a direction that he was going for, and he didn't have the right pairing for it, and just never even thought about it when he sold the babies to sell them as het Pied.
Man, I don't know if you know Phil or not. Phil is in, I think he's in, no, Phil's in New York as well. I think maybe in Pennsylvania. I think he's in New York. But anyway, Phil Snyder, we always joke, is the lucky guy because he's like, don't worry about the odds. 1 in 64. Watch this, and then like boom, there's the lavender clown, that he pops out. But yeah, he just Phil goes, yeah, Herbert's the new lucky guy around here. Phil's in Pennsylvania. Excuse me. I always get confused, Phil, because your logo reminds me of the Finger Lakes, which are in New York, right? They're in New York.
Yeah,
right?
I live right in the center of them all.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So anyway, a few people have asked, how did the visual caramel fare? What any issues with it? Good. What ended up happening to that animal?
So he had a pretty bad kink about halfway down his body, and yeah, I couldn't get him to eat. I tried assist feeding him. He wouldn't take anything, and yeah, there was nothing I could do. Even if I had gotten a rat into him and he did swallow it, I have a feeling it probably wouldn't have even made it down past the kink. So yeah. Which stinks. It was a beautiful animal, absolutely gorgeous.
It would be hard to get the sheds to do it, but it'd be really useful to have a caramel test for all the ultramales, especially with the steam that Ultramale has right now, and myself included. I should tell this part of the story too. I don't know if you know, but I have 2 seasons worth of double head ultra clown holdbacks, and I just bought a clown visual male that's head ultramale so that I can breed him to my first year of mature holdbacks this winter. So like I'm in on it too. But what I was going to say, that I should tell everybody, that's kind of a funny story to me. I don't know if you realized it. Like I sent the thumbnail, and the thumbnail says like hitting a triple, doing the work, premium animals, and you're like, we're gonna have a blast talking ultra clowns. I was like, okay, we'll talk some ultra clowns. That's cool. And then I posted it, and you're like, it's gonna be an amazing show. We're gonna talk ultra clowns. I'm like, all right.
Ultra clowns, they're my jam. I don't have a lot right now, but next season there's some stuff coming.
Yeah,
there's some stuff coming.
What's your now? And what I've found, let's go back to the hobby versus business part of it and tie in the ultra clones. I think the hobbyist has a little bit more leeway on what they want to keep, how aggressive they are on holdbacks versus worrying about revenue, which is truly, I guess, the definition of hobby versus business. How have you balanced that? Where do you see your revenue come from? Do you make a lot on the misses? I mean, you're chasing such high end stuff that even sometimes the byproducts are probably pretty decent as well. Talk a little bit about that whole situation, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, definitely. If you're aiming with very high odds and not a lot of genes present, the chances of you hitting something really cool are very low. And if you do hit it, you're going to keep it. So your byproduct are $50 snakes, $75, $100 snake. Like they're very cheap, and it's very hard to grow your business that way. When you're breeding a couple $1,000 snake to a couple $1,000 snake, and your odds are higher to hit cool things, you may hit two really cool things, and you only need one. So then you can sell one, And then the byproduct that you hit is still 1 or 2 genes that is maybe a visual recessive or a het recessive, which is going to fetch more money than if you just hit a pastel 66% het clown, or even a 66% double het ultramel clown. You know, you're not going to fetch that much money for it. So always aiming big and then selling the lesser stuff is the best way to go if you're trying to do this as a business.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And that's insightful. I'm not, how do I put this respectfully, not to you, to everybody else. I take so much more. So for example, I'll put up with chefs that don't have a great personality, but have owned their own business and their own restaurant. Not only will I put up with them, I'll treat them at a whole different tier because they've gone through it. They've paid the bills. They've had to keep the lights on. They've paid the rent. So like the guy, dislike the guy. They're almost always guys that are jerks. The lady chefs are awesome. But I will give them a whole lot more of my attention, and frankly, I think they're worthy of my attention because they've had to lay there in bed and go, how are the lights going to go on, versus laying in bed going, my salary's pretty good. I just need to make sure I don't get fired. There's two big ends of the spectrum. So when you tell me that about aiming big and you've not clocked in for another job for a year and a half, okay, I listen to that a little bit more than maybe some other people that could be spot on and know what they're talking about, but they haven't done it yet. They haven't proven it yet for themselves in their own situation. When you start on some of these, were the majority of where I realize now when you buy an animal and invest in an animal, you probably you probably have the cash flow in the business to justify buying one visual, maybe a visual het or a double visual het versus a triple het or a double het to a double het. How do you, where did you start at? And then kind of what's your strategy now when those situations arise?
So I started with no strategy whatsoever.
Okay, good. Well, and that's good to admit too, because that's all of us. We can all empathize with that, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like every year I revamp my strategy, because if your strategy is so solid that you can't improve it, then it means you're not learning anything. That means there's no room to grow.
Good for you.
So you should always be reevaluating every season, more if you can. But at least every season, you should be looking back at the previous season and saying, okay, what pairings did I do? And did they all make sense? And how am I going to change that this coming season to make sure that I'm not taking, so many chances that don't really make sense? So for instance, this past season, past season, I had 4 Poshet Sunset girls that I bred a normal double het Sunset albino to. Maybe not the best option. Now I want to prove them out. I want to figure out which ones are het Sunset, but with the level of some of my other animals, as we've been talking about, I've got an Ultramal Clown Pied behind me. With that level of an animal, does it make sense for me to be trying to put a normal double het male to some Poshet Sunset females to just try to hit a visual sunset? To me, that doesn't make sense. It's probably not a pairing I should have done. I should have just sold all those females as Poshet Sunset and invested in something better. So that's one of those things that I learned from this past season, and I wouldn't make that same mistake going forward. Now, that's not necessarily a mistake for everyone. That's a mistake for me.
Right.
Because of where I'm trying to build my business and how I'm trying to establish my business, that was a flaw.
Right.
So okay. That's just one example.
But did you see that as part of the process, though? And I'll give you a counter example. I wouldn't recommend to anybody that it's a great idea to find ball pythons on Craigslist and buy breeder females at the Chick-fil-A in Columbia, South Carolina. Turns out my female that I bought at the Chick-fil-A in Columbia, South Carolina parking lot, that girl's one of my best producers. And a matter of fact, I'm going to give her the year off coming up because in 3 seasons now, she's given me I think she's given me 30 eggs and 2 slugs.
Wow.
You know, would I do it again? No. But you made the point earlier. Sometimes when you're starting out, you take more of a risk or you do more of the work. And I'm a little bit torn. I come back around. I had an experience yesterday that ended up being fantastic. It was one of my biggest sales ever. Looking back, I don't know if I recommend doing it, but I'll tell it in a minute. But so was it part of the process that you had to learn from that is okay if other people go through it? Or is it something that you're just like, no, don't do that at all? There's other things we go, no, don't do that at all. If it's unsafe for the animal, we learn something the hard way.
Oh yeah. I think there's lessons that need to be learned, but I think one of the best ways to learn is if you're teachable. I would rather you come on here and say, Herb, don't do that. That's a stupid idea. And I say, well, Adam said that's a stupid idea, so I'm not going to do that. Well, that's one lesson I don't have to learn because I took advice from somebody else. I'll make a mistake somewhere else.
Sure.
But I would rather listen to people that say, just don't do this. Stay away from it. It's a bad idea. And then heed that advice and know that, okay, well, I'm not going to make that mistake now. And I can say that with certainty because I'm going to stay away from it.
Yeah. Hey, this is a question, and you can decline if you don't care to discuss it. When you worked at that factory, are you able to say, or do you care to say, is it a nationally known company, or is it a company we'd recognize?
No.
What was did you have input as a worker there as to the processes and to the improvements or not?
A little bit. Some things they would listen to and some things they wouldn't. It just depends who you were telling and what mood they were in.
Gotcha. It's strange. My background is restaurants, but I have a unique insight into Toyota manufacturing because the last general manager that I worked under for 6 years, he's a Toyota manufacturing guy, and he left, and he's a finance guy. So he got the job as the CFO and eventually became the general manager. But a lot of what you're talking about, do it, look back, constantly improve, put your ego away and figure out how to learn. And then why I brought that up as the factory, I'll give you a brief example. I had pitched that we needed a new whiz bang pizza oven, stone conveyor, bang out, X hundreds of pizzas per hour. We're going to make a fortune on this. And he said, that's great, Adam. And he gets up, he goes, walk with me. And he goes to my pizza guy who was making like $13 an hour at the time, pre-pandemic. And the guy, to this day, I don't know his real name. His nickname was Scooby. He's like, and so here's the GM from Toyota Manufacturing going to Scooby. Scooby, what do you need on a pizza station? And I was like, I'm your guy. I'm telling you what we need. And he's like, no. I want to hear it from him because if I'm going to give you $60,000, I want to make sure Scooby can make the baddest ass pizzas ever. And a lot of what you're talking about is that kind of mindset. So I was really curious about that, but that I hope to apply a lot of that as well, or I challenge myself to stay in that mindset where I go, what have I done well? What am I going to look back on? What am I going to tweak? What am I going to change? What am I going to learn from and improve upon? And hopefully, who can I learn from? That's the secret weapon of this show. Like, yeah, YouTube clicks are good and all, but I want to talk to guys like you on a regular basis. You know what I mean? That's how I'm going to learn. It's the same in music. If I could play with better musicians, I'm going to get better. That's just all that there is to it, So I love that stuff, man. Do you mind if we take a quick 1 or 2 minute break here? Let me pay some bills real fast, and then we're going to get into some other topics on the flip side of it. I got to say thanks to REDLINE Shipping, guys. If you're not using REDLINE Shipping, give them a shot. Take a chance. What do you have to lose? Choose promo code proper5. They're going to give you $5 off your next shipping label. Why I think you should take the chance is to have great customer service. The interface that you use to ship is quick. It's easy. Robin Markland's been at this a long time. This is a reptile shipping company by reptile dudes. Go check them out. Proper5 will get you $5 off. Cold-Blooded Cafe. You guys know I'm a little bit of a frozen thawed rodent snob, and I'm also a food production snob. And they check both boxes for me. Cold-Blooded Cafe. I was a customer of both of these companies before I ever got into sponsorship deals with them. You should check them out. And if you feed frozen thawed, use the promo code proper10 from Cold-Blooded Cafe. They're going to give you 10% off of your frozen thawed order, your whole order. 10%. That adds up on rats these days, unfortunately, with the cost of it, but they're great rats. So check that out. Chris at BNS Reptilia. It's got to be hatchling season. That dude has got to have a zoo in his house with all the different animals and breeds that he specializes in. He does have ball pythons, but also a variety of colubrids, carpet pythons, and locality boas. I'm talking out of my league. I don't even know what that means, but locality boas, he's got it. I think I'm not messing up how to say that. He's a really good dude. He's the longest guy that's ever sponsored me. And if you look around the other podcasts in our community, you see his logo all over the place. He's hugely supportive. He's also the Pennsylvania distributor for the chipper. Last but not least, I am breaking one of my deals. I'm going to have to pay a 2-show penance in July. Go check out Jeremy and Holly at Snakes for the Memories. I don't have their link down below, but I will. Snakes for the Memories. You can't forget their name. They're great folks, the great breeders. I'll be vending with them this weekend, and they have new hatchlings on the ground ready to go. And go check them out. Like, they're worth supporting, and they're really great people. So you can't miss them at the shows. Bright neon green and neon purple. And they're fun and awesome. Jeremy and Holly, you got to go check them out. They sponsored the month of June, and I was slacking, and I did not put them on the logo tonight. They get some extra kicks in July, I promise. So looking forward to seeing them this weekend. And that's everybody. That's what we got going on. Those of y'all in the audience, thanks for hanging out tonight. Matt just popped up. It's good to see you all. I hope that you're doing well. And yeah. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Stick around. Herbert, the premium tier, you talked a little bit about it, and I think we probably mostly covered it. But when I say the premium tier, focusing on premium animals, focusing on double recessives, focusing on the things you just talked about, taking the bigger chances so that you get the bigger risks, but even your misses are still pretty good. How challenging have you found it to, and I realize we could be wading in the sensitive waters, so I'm not looking for like specific numbers or anything, but how challenging do you find it to sell those premium tier snakes? Is it something that you like worked your way up to, or you just said, man, I'm going to jump right in and I just got to go for the premium and I'll figure out how to market it? Or talk some about that. I guess my biggest fear is buying a $4,000 animal and producing really expensive offspring and then having a rack full of things I can't move and can't sell. What have you found on that? What's your experience been?
Yeah, so that's kind of the issue that I had between my 21 to my 20 to 21 season and my 21 to 22 season is the level of my animals, the value of them jumped. And most of the clientele that I had prior to that 21 season was a lot of the $200 and $300 snakes. And then all of a sudden I'm producing stranger combos and I'm producing hurricane combos, and the value was just there was just a major gap in between those animals. And so I think at first I ran into a little bit of an issue where, people probably didn't trust me just because they didn't know me.
Right. Yeah. The brand trust question. Yeah. That's the one.
Right. But I think it helped because not long after I started producing some of the more expensive animals, I was on MJ's podcast. And so that helped to give me a little bit of recognition and put a face, to myself, because I don't put a lot of pictures on Instagram of me.
Right.
Like, I'm ugly. No one wants to look at me. They want to look at the snake. So I probably have 3 pictures on Instagram that actually show me. So just being on a podcast really, it put me out there so people could actually listen and say, okay, Herbert, he's a real guy. He's not some faceless person on Morph Market and Instagram. But then overall, like, I don't think it's been that difficult, having more expensive snakes. I've sold a lot of very expensive snakes over the past year or so.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of really good guys in doing that as well. So you'll grow. If you have good animals and you're honest and you're not trying to hide anything,
right.
When people reach out to you and ask about a more expensive animal, it's going to be no problem selling it to them as long as you're transparent.
Yeah. That's good to hear. I think that you do. I was looking at, there's a couple things that I thought you did really, really well on marketing. One of them being obviously that you push good animals. That's that, a triple visual helps with some marketing. I gotta say that helps along the way. No, but your I call it your copy, but your wording on Morph Market on your about you is fantastic. And then I thought what was really great was you put a lot of effort into sourcing and showcasing the testimonial section. Like I listened to a lot of like business and marketing podcasts, and there's a guy, and I think Alex something, he's this gym guy. And he said, the simple fact is, like, most of what I'm telling people isn't a secret. It's just who's going to go out and do it. Anybody could do the testimonials. We just don't. I don't have them up there, and I put a lot of work. I even pride myself on how much work I put into this. I thought it was I thought it was a really, really good touch, and it was really, I think it goes a long way. I thought it was really good. So I think you're doing the right stuff with you, whether it's luck or purpose or not, I don't know, but
a little bit of both.
Yeah. Well, of course. I was tongue in cheek when I was saying it. Yeah, of course. That's right.
It also helps too. And I definitely recommend this to newer breeders. When you're selling those $100 and $300 snakes and you make that sale on Morph Market, don't be afraid to ask your customer to leave you a rating. Don't assume. Yeah, like I know a lot of people, I've heard them saying, like, they just hope that their customer leaves them a rating. They mark it sold and it gives them the option, and they just hope that they do it. Ask them straight up. Hey, if you're happy with your purchase, I'd greatly appreciate a positive rating on Morph Market. And be specific. Say, please give me a positive rating. Don't even just say, hey, give me a rating. I want a positive rating. And if your customer service and your packaging is worthy of a positive rating, you're going to get it no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you send a package out and you just throw some crumpled up newspaper in there and you forget to put a heat pack in there and the snake gets out of the snake bag and is just wandering around inside the box, don't expect a positive rating. So do the work, and there's no reason why you won't get a positive rating. I've gotten positive ratings for issues that have happened with FedEx. They 2-day delay or whatever, but because I had a 72-hour heat pack in there, or I had a cryo pack in there because it was a little cold and I wanted to make sure that the extra steps were taken, to get there, I still got a positive rating.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about it because I knew that the customer had my guarantee behind it.
Right.
So just little things.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit extra effort.
I agree. I think all the little extra effort adds up. I mean, I'm seeing it in my own. I'm thankful, and I say that not bragging. I say it in a way full of gratitude. But I'm just seeing it in my own experience. I'm at the very beginning when I said I was excited to go vend it at a big show with kind of the big guys. Like, I think I've got a little following. I think I've had great customer service where people are going to come check it out. They're going to say, well, let's at least see what's over at Adam's place, kind of thing. It's a cool thing to feel and to see the returns on, and there is a return on investment. Is there something in your mind that jumps out as an example of doing the extra work? Or I love the idea of doing the work nobody else wants to do. I've made a lot of money in my life just doing work that nobody else wants to do. Is there examples of that you could think of that you could share? I mean, you put it on your logo, so this has got to speak close to your heart, right? I get the feeling you're not a guy that just says stuff to be snarky, so I feel like you mean it. Like something must have inspired that, you know?
Oh yeah, I can definitely be a sarcastic little turd sometimes.
I can empathize. Yeah.
Yeah. So where my saying came from, nobody cares, work harder. I had wore a shirt that literally just said nobody cares, work harder on MJ's podcast. Yeah. And at the very end of it, he was like, man, he's like, that's a great shirt. Like, you know, you should have that, you know, like with your logo and everything. And I'm like, that's a great idea because that's how I live.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. Like I've never really had a good catchphrase for my business. So I'm like, hey, that works. So my ex-coworker is a graphic designer, and he, you know, designed my new logo with it built right into the logo and everything. And when you first see it, it sounds really mean. Like it comes across like I don't give a crap about your feelings, you know, like
it can.
And that's not what I portray. But what happens in this industry a lot is you get a lot of excuses. Well, I can't grow my business because. And it's like, okay, well, is that actually a reason? Or is that an excuse because you don't want to put in the work that is required to achieve what you're trying to achieve? And I hear it from a lot of people. You know, I'm in a lot of Discords, you know, Patreon groups and their Discords. You know, so you see it all the time. And I've had people message me on Instagram and ask, you know, how I got to where I am today. And it just simply is hard work and passion.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I say nobody cares, work harder, it's not me coming out and saying, well, I don't give a crap about your life situations. And, you know, I don't care that you're going through a divorce. Like that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But you gotta move past it. What are your dreams? If you have a dream, then you need to pursue it. Like if you're serious about it, you got to pursue it. And you just got to work harder. It's really simple. It's hard work, but it's simple. You just got to put in the work. Yeah.
That I got to find out what that guy Alex's last name is, because that same guy that I was talking about, the gym, he's probably a 500 millionaire by now, but whatever he is, this the social media business guy. Again, he oversimplifies things, but he's like a lot of times skill and expertise is just doing the thing over and over again. You do the thing over and over, and each time you're getting a little bit better at it. And then one day you're really good at it. And then one day you're an expert at it because nobody else was willing to do the thing over and over long enough. I mean, 6 years is a long time that you've been at it. And I think you got a little more knack than just doing the thing over and over again, because there's plenty of people with 6 years that aren't doing what you're doing. But there's something to that. And that's kind of what I've found. I mean, I'll use the example of shows. I think this is going to be my 7th or 8th show this year, and it's only the second week of June. Like, I needed to get the reps in. I needed to figure out what it was about. I needed to learn my little sales pitch, my little engagement. I needed to learn closing the deal. I never closed a deal. I don't know what that, it's not, you got to get out there and do it. Like, I can't just recite scripts. Like, I have to interact with people. And the same thing on this show. Like, I like going, if I go back and watch my first videos, like, man, what in the world? How am I still here doing this? It's because I just kept doing it. And I finally got better. I figured out this light, and that light, and me sitting here kind of looks cool. And that for whatever reason, people take you more seriously if you got a microphone in your face, but you could still hear me just fine over here, you know? So anyway, yeah, so doing the thing. We talked about risks and hard work. So we're approaching the like maybe 25-minute warning, somewhere in there. We have plenty of show left. Think about if you might be willing to show that triple off while I tell you the story here. Oh no, that was the hook to keep them engaged, so they don't go anywhere.
Oh, you know? I'll think about it. I'll let you know.
About it. Yeah, it's a very sensitive animal, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's probably
I don't want too many people to see it.
Right, yeah. Oh, Brandon nailed it. Yeah, Alex Hormozy. So this guy's crazy. He bought a gym. He realized that if he had a 20,000 square foot gym that was empty and he had to renovate, he didn't need a house because he could live in that gym just fine on an air mattress and ramen noodles. And that's what he did. And then all he did was work out because he had gym equipment and he had no money. So he just worked out, and suddenly he's this jack dude selling gyms. And they're like, oh, he knows what he's doing. And he did that a bunch of times, and he's made $1 bazillion. But anyway, that's that guy. If you guys want to check him out in the audience, Alex Hormozy. So yesterday, here's a crazy story of, I don't know, maybe I was crazy. It worked out. I'm here today to tell the story. Somebody on Morph Market messages me and they say, hey, we've seen your show. We're looking for some pet snakes. We were wondering if we could come by and just see what snakes you had available. And I was like, I don't really do that. My home is a little bit of a safe space, both from a security, just personal space, and also a biosecurity. I didn't know what animals they had. I didn't know who they were, blah, blah, blah. So, but I said, what are you interested in? What are you working with? What can I help you with? And he says, well, I really like this, and I really like this, and I really like this one. And that one was like $1,400. And I was like, okay, so this guy isn't talking $80, $90 pet enchies that he wants to have. And then I said, well, what, are you prepared to, and he said, well, if I buy 3 or 4, could we do a package deal? I'm like, yeah, that's a good way to get my attention as well.
For sure.
So I called him and I said, are you prepared to have these snakes? He said, well, I've got one and I bought a rack, and my girlfriend likes this and I like this. And really they're just going to be pets for now, but maybe we get your advice if we decided to breed them one day. So maybe we want to have a little input on when we buy the snake. And I was like, okay, man, here's what I'm going to do. And I just kind of went on a whim. I said, I'm going to put a little showcase together for you, and I'll come to your place. I'll come to your house and I'll bring the snakes. I packed up 12 snakes and I put them in my ARS racks or in my ARS display, like old school, like vacuum salesman, like walked up to his door, knocked on it, come in. Right on his coffee table, I got my three tiers of ARS racks. He bought 4 snakes, and one of them was that super expensive one.
That's awesome.
Packed up, walked out, and my wife, like, I was telling her afterwards, and I have my license in Florida. I'm completely legal. Everything I did was legal. I said, that felt like a weird drug deal. Like, I walked in, I opened the goods on the counter, I look over my shoulder, and they have stacks of hundreds on the counter. And he's just like, all right, show me what you got. I want to look at these. And I'm like, here we go, man. And that's one of those things when you're like, you learn stuff and you don't necessarily recommend it. On the other hand, you learned a lot from it. And I can't say I fully vetted the guy. Now I will say, look, I knew the neighborhood. It was in a gated community. I kind of knew what sort of financial situation you have to be in to live in that neighborhood. But I don't know. I don't know if I would, like, even here and now, I don't know if I would do that again,
I hear you. I've done my fair share of corner store, the local grocery store meetup in the parking lot. Oh, yeah. I've done plenty of those.
Any that went crazy? Any that went weird?
There's definitely some weird people out there. I've never had anything weird happen, but you never know who you're going to meet when you meet somebody for the first time. That's for sure.
I had it's like starting out in things is just the Wild West, right? Like I kind of love it. It's stuff that I will never do again because I'm just too far invested in it now, and I can't take those risks. And I shouldn't have taken them anyway. But so one guy is a female Candy that's a beautiful snake, man. She's about to lay for me, and he says, "Look, man, I don't have a car, but I could walk over to the Dollar General." And I was like, "All right, cool. I'll meet you at the Dollar General, man." And so I give him the time, but I got there like 15 minutes early so that I could wait for the spot immediately in front of the store to open up because I knew they would have a camera at the entrance of the store. And I backed my car in, and I stood right by my license plate, which I don't know why I felt like they needed to identify me. But then I was going to make the guy, that was my plan. I was like, all right, I'm on the camera. I'm going to make the guy walk to me. So he turns out to be a great dude. He's a cool guy. No problem at all. I don't know why he didn't have a car. But anyway, he's got this snake in his bag walking down the street to the Dollar General for me. And we're checking it out, and I'm popping the girl, and somebody robs the Dollar General. Here come two bandits out the front door, and the cashier, she's swinging a broom, and they stole like trash cans. They stole like yard equipment. Like, I don't know if they had like a yard job they had to get to, but they come like storming out, and she's like, "Get that!" And I won't even repeat what she's yelling. "Get these so-and-so, this and that." And these guys like pull into their truck, and they were not strategic where they parked. They had to cross her path to get out of the parking lot. And she threw a Dollar General cart in front of their truck. So that thing explodes like in front of them. And she walks back, and she's just shaking her head. And she looks at the two of us, and she goes, "What the hell are you two doing?"
Making money.
Yeah, I mean, we're just doing deals legally here, unlike those guys. Like, we're not your problem. And it was great because I looked at the guy. I was like, "Well, the cops are on the way, so if you were going to rob me, now's the time." And he just started laughing, man. It was great. Yeah, Dale says only in Jacksonville. Yeah, Dale, that was over in Orange Park, right across the bridge, man, and right off of Normandy. It was the Dollar General on Normandy Boulevard in Orange Park, which I probably should never have gone there to do business in the first place, but I did. And she's about to lay some eggs for me. So you want to check? Are you cool showing off this snake? You want to check it out?
Yeah, of course.
All right, we put it in the thumbnail. Let's see what's up here.
All right.
I got to figure out how to put you on the big screen or the bigger screen. Let's see. Yeah, there it is.
Let's see. Am I able to flip my camera? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm on a desktop. I would, yeah, you're on the phone. I would think so, but I don't know.
I don't see an option for it. Well, let's just go like this.
There we go. Yep. And for anybody joining us right now, hit us with the genes again.
This is a male pastel ultramel clown pied.
And I missed earlier that it was a male, so he's about ready to get to work this winter, huh?
Oh yeah, he's already pushing 500 grams.
Good for you. How many females do you think you're going to line him up with this year?
As long as he keeps growing and hits roughly 1,000 grams or so, I'll probably put him to 4, 5, 6, somewhere around in there.
Gotcha.
It'll all just depend on how well he grows. I don't like to stress out first-year males.
Right. Yeah, and that's a bigger point than gets talked about a lot in the industry. You're exactly right about that. Because of the PG nature of the show, I can't explain why the comment is funny, but Kike nailed it. He's buying candy. Good one, Kike. That one, that might be the comment of the night. That was pretty good right there. So will you put it back to the mother, who's obviously at least triple het, and go to try and produce some more?
No,
you will not. Why not?
Nope. So this is one of those lessons that you learn. So if I put him back to the mother and I hit more Ultramel clown pieds, what am I going to do with them? If I hit a male Ultramel clown pied, I don't need a second male. So I would sell it, which is great money.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm also creating my competition.
Okay.
And there's
going.
people out
I'm
here.
intrigued. Yeah. Go ahead.
The people that are out there that are going to spend $20,000 to $30,000 on a triple visual male, their collection is better than mine.
That's true.
Justin will go buy a $30,000 male, and he's going to put it to a whole bunch of multi-codom double recessive females, and he's going to outproduce me his first season. So for what I want to do is I'll hold that male, and then I'll put that male to a bunch of multi-codom het clown females, het pied females, and whatnot to mix codoms in with that. So then in a few years, I've got all these females growing up that are multi-codom triple hets. Some of them will be visual clowns, some will be visual ultramels, and then I can put that male back to them and start producing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Man,
the codoms are secret right now. I'm not releasing my pairings for him.
Sure. And that's respectable. The restraint that it would take for me to have even held that animal back, much less not say to myself, I'll produce one clutch just to pay the bills for the whole year. And then the other 6, I'll do exactly what you talked about. Good for you, man. That I mean that in a very, very complimentary way when I say the restraint it would take, because I am a bird in the hand kind of guy, but sometimes you got to be the bird in the bush guy, man. That's what you're doing. I was going to say, I hope it works out for you. It's going to work out for you. You have a triple visual male. It's going to work out fine for you. But to see past that current price tag that you could have. Now, Matt's calling you out. He says you had it for sale at Tinley.
Matt's a liar. Don't listen to Matt.
Well,
okay, I did. Okay, he's not technically a liar. I did have it at Tinley to show it off, but I put $1 million price tag on it.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
So he is right. I did have it for sale.
There's a little strategy, a little what do middle-aged guys say that want to be hip? Pro tip. Here's a pro tip. If you have a bunch of guitars and your wife says, I've had enough of all these guitars everywhere, you could list it for sale at any price you want and then kindly explain that it just hasn't sold. It's the darndest thing. I mean, I don't know what it'll take to unload these guitars that they just aren't selling right now. It's tough. I guess we're stuck with them for now, you know?
Yep. It's all strategy. Find loopholes.
That is right. Actually, I was going to say two things we're going to talk about. One really quick thing. Hit us with some stats. How big's your collection? Talk to a little bit about how many animals you have and the mix of male, female, that kind of thing.
So let me see. So currently, like last year I did 43 pairings, but that's not all my adult females. I probably have about 50 or so adult females, but 7 of them I didn't breed just because they weren't going to make what I wanted to make. So I chose to not breed them. Right. But so yeah, I got roughly 50 adult females, and then probably 30 or so adult males, and then probably about 50 or so holdbacks.
Okay.
So and roughly 150 or so is the collection.
Do you have space for those 50 holdbacks? Or are those going to cycle into the existing breeder number as they grow and as another season progresses?
Yep, they'll just be kind of cycled. I just listed a bunch of females today on Morph Market. Just trying to, a lot of the females, not a lot, but a handful of the females that have already given me a clutch this year. Now they're back on food, and so it's time to move them out and make room for the holdbacks from last year to take their place. And then the males too. I'm using a lot of males that I've had for several years. So now I'm cycling in some new males.
Where I made a comment that it didn't sell because it was pastel, and I don't have on my desktop keyboard, I don't have emojis or whatever. So I think a couple people took it seriously, and Brandon's great. He's like, well, it works well with Ultramal. Yeah, it works well with triples too. But yeah, Lauren says she runs a pastel rescue. If you just need to, have it a good home to go to one day.
Yeah, Lauren is in Will Morose's Discord.
Yeah,
I know Lauren.
Yeah, I don't know Lauren really well, but we talk a lot, and actually we message a fair amount. So that was a good one as well. Yeah, I think pastel in general gets a raw deal, and there's plenty of good things that it works with. But yeah, my comment was totally as a joke about who would want that. Do you vend any shows, or is it all, what's your sales portal, so to speak?
Most everything I do is on Morph Market. I do vend one local show here. I was vending a lot of local shows, but some of them were a few hours away, and it just got to be a lot of work. Getting up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, moving all of your snakes, driving to a show, setting up, vending the whole day, and then going home. Like, it's a lot. And, stressful on the animals, stressful on me. So we have one show that's now 30 minutes from us. So we're going to vend that one. And then we currently are vending Tinley as well. So we don't have our own table at Tinley, but we've been able to bum tables off of people.
Gotcha.
So that worked out really well.
Were you in the group with Ken and Matt that vended this past Tinley?
I was not.
No,
I was a few aisles away from them.
I got you. Well, if anybody's looking for a table mate, I'll pay for the table. I'll come work the table. I'll pick you up on the way if it's between Jacksonville and Chicago. I'd love to get in. Either way, I'm planning to be there in October, but I'd love to have an opportunity to vend. Like you say, getting a table, especially as a ball python breeder, is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
I haven't called in my REDLINE contacts, but I don't think Robin would even help me out. He would help me out as much as he could. I don't think even he could get me a table at Tinley, although maybe for the right price, but I don't think he'd spend the money to influence that decision. So, gotcha. So where, do you ever come down to Daytona show?
I have not. I've had a bunch of people ask me if I'm going down there, and I haven't made it yet, but one of these days I'm definitely going to get down there. I hear it's a really good time.
It is a good time. The layout is, even outside of the show, the layout is great. The Hilton right there is good. It's actually reasonably affordable compared to some of the hotels and some of the other places. Just that everything is, I really enjoy it. It's a good fun time. So, hopefully we'll cross paths in person. Hopefully I'll either see you at Tinley or you'll get down this way. Or do you hang out with any of the Pennsylvania guys near you? Warfels or Charlie or Reagan Renee or Kai or any of those guys?
Nope.
Oh, well, then, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You gotta,
No, honestly, my best friends are further down south.
Oh yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah, South Carolina. There's 3 guys down there: Terry Burwell, Robbie, and then my buddy Chris Coons. Like, I'm best buds with them, and they're a million miles away from me.
Yeah, and I should have asked. I mean, I know that I didn't get introduced to you. I got introduced to who you were through Robbie. What's the connection there?
So we have a little group chat, me, Chris, Terry, and Robbie. And I had met Chris when I went down to Justin's for his Patreon get together.
Yep.
And I stayed at Chris's house. Okay. And then Terry had come over, and then the 3 of us rode to Justin's together. And then at the Arlington show, the following spring at the Arlington show, I was standing in front of Justin's table just chatting, And Robbie actually came up to me and he's like, "Hey, HB Reptiles, are you Herbert?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, hey, I'm Robbie. I'm friends with Terry and Chris." And I'm like, "Oh, sweet. Hey, man." And so we talked for a little bit there, and then we talked separately, and then we included Robbie in our group chat, and then we talk daily now. Just a good group of guys.
Yeah,
They are. Cool. I'm not a good part of the group.
You're allowed to give yourself a compliment on my show. That's all right.
I'm a sour apple in the group.
Hey, I've been getting by a long time with some pretty killer guys putting up with me, hanging around and harassing them for the past couple of years. And I mean that more seriously than you know. Like, those guys have been really, really solid to me. Yeah, along with the candy jokes, there's now acid jokes as far as what I might have to explain to a police officer. I see. Herbert, where can people see you out? What platforms are you on? Where can they follow you? Where can they connect with you? Where can they see your animals?
Currently, Instagram is what I use the most. I also post to Facebook, but it's just kind of I post to Instagram and it automatically posts to Facebook. Right. Yeah. So sometimes I respond to comments on Facebook, sometimes I don't. But Instagram is the main place to reach me. You can text me. My number's on Morph Market.
Yep.
And obviously I'm on Morph Market.
Cool. Guys, go check out Herbert at HB Reptiles. What a cool episode. I really, really appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate I don't think that there's a skill necessarily to being a great guest, but I really appreciate when people kind of roll with the flow, and you and I hit it off, and I really appreciate it, man. I don't have to look at the stats. I can feel it when it's a great show. And you're going to be stuck with like 3 or 4 tags on Instagram, because there's reels that I'm going to cut out of really, really insightful stuff from the show. I was like, yep, grab that one, grab that section. It'll be right there. So I hope you come back after some clutches hatch, maybe early in 2024, we'll get back together. And I hope in the meantime, between now and then, maybe I'll see it. You're going to be up at Tinley in October?
Yep. I'll be vending Tinley.
Cool. Well, I'm going to, like I say, I'm fully planning to be there, whether I'll be able to vend or I'll just be hanging out. To be honest, the first time at Tinley, that doesn't make a difference to me. I'll gladly do either. So everybody watching, if you're in Florida, you should make your way over to Tampa for the Tampa Repticon this weekend. I'd love to see you, but I know that Dale, Jeremy Bod, I think George MD is going to be there. Steve Casino will be there. A ton of really, really great breeders are going to be there. And if you don't support me, definitely go support those guys or support them first. Either way, everything's cool. I'm really looking forward to this weekend. So I hope to see everybody there. Herbert, I've been trying this new thing where I give the guest the last word. And then when I feel like you said the last word, I'm going to hit the music and we're out of here.
All right. Nobody cares. Work harder.
That was too fast, man. One more time. All right, you got your practice. One more time. Hit it.
Nobody cares. Work harder.